Good morning. It's been a good summer, you know. We're in the beginning of August now, and it's beautiful outside. And I thought I would take you for a little walk around and show you the gardening that kind of happened or didn't happen this summer. But let's just go for a little walk, hey? So one of the garden beds that I showed in my kind of early summer video was, well, I learned some things about it. Primarily, it needs to really be amended, I think, because things did not grow very well. I'll show you. So this doesn't look so different from the spring, really. These are like broccolis and cauliflowers here. And then there's some celery and celeriac. The lettuces ended up bolting. Here, you can see. They were actually doing pretty good for a while. There's a cabbage, and this is like the 1,000 head kale from Baker Creek. And I mean, it's looking pretty good. Although it's not one plate makes dinner, like how it's advertised as like huge leaves where one plate makes dinner. So not quite, but still I think it was doing better than most of my other kales, which are here. So some kales, see, they're much smaller. Yeah, the rosemary, while not great, is doing better than some other things over here. So this garden didn't do the best this year, but I do know that for next year I need to kind of do some pretty substantial work, I guess, on the soil before I plant anything in it. But some of these things look okay, and maybe I can give them a little more chance, and now that it's finally like cooled down again, they could grow. So I think it was kind of like a hard summer, maybe, because the spring was really like cool, and then we got hit with that like heat dome all of a sudden, where it went from like, I don't know, 18 degrees at night to like plus 40, 41, which was like so hot. And it's funny because last summer the highest we ever got was like maybe plus 25, and then this summer was like plus 40. So it just, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's just big difference. But anyway, kind of have a game plan for next year over here. Oh, I got some horseradish and I had planted it, and I don't know why I thought this, but I thought horseradish should be kind of like more like a grass, but it has big leaves. And so I accidentally like pulled some out when I thought they were weeds, and they're not looking so great right now. There's something munching on them, but this is my little horseradish plants that survived my weeding. You can see there's some little leaves coming up in there. Hoping those like do well. I would really like to have my own horseradish. I think I'm gonna like try to bed this down really well over the winter, so put like a lot of mulch on it because it's kind of above ground, and I don't want to like freeze it out too much, especially if they didn't like establish super well this year. Yeah, so horseradish to come maybe next year. I tried planting this kind of really beautiful like peachy calendula all around the place, and some places it did okay. Here's one of them. It's this really lovely like color here. This was all honeysuckle and it looked beautiful. I cut off all the pods and I'm hoping to sprinkle them in a few spots so that maybe I can have lots more of kind of like wild honeysuckle or columbine, whichever you want to call it, around. The front flower garden here, where I was just kind of letting everything like go a little crazy this year to see what was growing in it, because I had no idea, was I think a good call. There's a few things that I maybe wouldn't have thought was like flowers, and turned out it was, so that's cool. I also have some kale in this garden bed, and it seems to be doing like better than most of the kale in the other spot, so that's kind of interesting. There were huge, beautiful poppies right here, and then some bachelor buttons that came up, lupins, and then what I thought maybe was American vetch here actually ended up having like these like lovely purple flowers on it, which was really cool. And a couple different, I believe these are shrubby cinquefoils. And I was hoping that maybe this was a lily, but it didn't blossom. I have a couple things that didn't quite make it into the ground, and I'm trying to decide what to do with them. So one of them is my asparagus. Here they are. Lots of little baby asparaguses. These actually were quite big before, and then they didn't get enough water and died, and now they're coming back again. And I'm trying to decide if I just keep them in their pots and try to keep them somewhere like cool, but not freezing cold, and then plant them next year, or do I try to put them in the ground now and hopefully they have like a month before it gets like way too cold. I'm not sure. I don't know what the best idea to do with those are. We'll see. This is probably my best looking garden over here. So these are the zucchinis. They did much better than last year. I had a bunch of small ones that I took off before I left for a while. That might have been a mistake because now I have these like baby sized zucchinis that are very large. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with them. Maybe I'll harvest them right now and do some sort of like stuffed zucchini. So in here we have lots of different kales, like curly scarlet kale. I think there's like a curly green kale. Lots of different curly kales. Guess I was feeling it this year. Also, there were a lot of aphids on the kales, but that's kind of petered out now, so that's good because there was copious amounts. And this year, the kohlrabies actually are like the stems are thickening on them, whereas last year they didn't really grow at all, so that's cool. Here they are. There's one there. Couple. Yeah. This row, there's just lots of cauliflowers and broccolis, and some of them did not bolt and they did not head during all the warm weather, and so I'm hoping maybe now they will kind of like finish off when it's a little bit cooler out. Some of the broccolis that were forming heads really early, I just kind of like let go and bolt, and I decided I would collect the seeds to use this winter as like microgreens. So here's a couple of the broccolis that bolted, and you can see some of the seed pods that are forming on them. Some of the cauliflowers did okay this year. I mean, they're still quite small, but this one's pretty good. And then there's one over here. There's one here. This had lots of mustards and things that all bolted that I'm letting dry so I can collect the seeds from. See them on there? I believe these are Tokanashi turnips right here. So got a few good sized ones there coming in. you can maybe see that there's some celery and celeriac underneath. And these celery and celeriac look a lot better than the ones over in that other garden, so I have a bit of hope for them. And in this last bed, you can see there's a sunflower. And that there's more almost opening. Then we have a little Swiss chard over here. This is a Aunt Molly ground cherry. You see there's like these little husks where there's a berry inside of it. This is a wonderberry. I think they're very beautiful. They're like a quintessential kind of looking berry. Wonderberries are supposed to be kind of like a huckleberry, I guess they were described as. Most of the huckleberries I've been eating this year have been like the red huckleberries, which are quite sour. And these are not sour. They're almost more of a savory berry, if that makes any sense. It's not like a hard sweet. This is some amaranth that did not really do well, but looks very beautiful, the pink color on them. More lettuces that have been bolting. This was like a Paris cause lettuce that's like a romaine. Also letting those just go. Some more Swiss chards and beets that kind of made it through the worst of the heat in the summer. A lot better now. It's kind of interesting that some of the things I planted just like hunkered down, and now they're doing a lot better. This is the raspberry patch. I actually got a fair amount of raspberries out of here this year. Maybe not quite as much as last year, but like a decent haul. And are there any left? Not really, not a lot. I've kind of like got most of them out of here. The artichokes are another thing that didn't do very great this summer, but are also seeming to have a comeback now, which I find kind of surprising because I thought artichokes were heat loving, you know, and they just, they didn't like the heat, but now that it's like kind of cooled down a bit, they've been a lot happier. So while small, they look like they're making a comeback. So here they are. See, they have like a new leaf in there. Yeah. Oh. And I had some little gray poppies. This one looks like it's gonna open. And a few more little baby zinnias that also weren't struggling, and there's a bit of chamomile as well over here. And then here are some just like potted plants that I kind of had a mixture of herbs and flowers in. This is bergamot, which I was hoping would flower so I could collect it to make tea. Bergamot is supposed to be like that flavor of, you think of like Earl Grey tea, and this is one of the plants that kind of has that flavor associated with it, so I'm hoping maybe they'll still flower. And then there are these black king pansies from Baker Creek. They aren't like super black. They're definitely like a purple. You can see some of them are a little more bright faced. And then there's more of this like calendula that I had tried growing in a few other places. And then this mess is where I was gonna have like potatoes and onions and things. But I decided instead of doing them here that I would just do them where I had them last year over at my in-laws farm. So we planted a whole bunch of potatoes, and I planted onions that I had started from seed over there, but the onions all died in the heat. The potatoes made it though, so we're gonna be going over there and harvesting them pretty soon. And I think next year I'll try to, you know, do something here. Now all the weeds are hopefully snuffed out pretty good, and I'll be able to like till it up a bit. And yeah, have maybe some potatoes and onions a little closer to home next year. The one last stop to go is where I'm keeping all of my tomatoes and peppers. I've had them outside a lot when it was warm out, and then recently I've moved them into this like little sunroom that I have behind me, just because it's been getting kind of like cooler in the nights, like maybe 6 to 8 degrees Celsius in the evenings, which is kind of cold. So I moved them all in here. So there's all of the peppers, there's some like cucumbers and melons down there, and then there's a bunch of kind of scraggly looking tomatoes. They, I don't know, they're not looking quite so hot. These are early lattice, I think they're called, tomatoes, and they're getting like pretty ripe. I have a bunch of like little cherry tomatoes. These are Brad's Atomic Grape. I mean, these are kind of shown to be like more colorful, but mine are like a very dark purple color. So the tomatoes are kind of in a questionable state. There's a few on there. The peppers though are looking really good. I think there's like paprika, buona mulata. They're very beautiful purple. These are King of the North. They're supposed to be like a big bell pepper. You can see they're not so big at the moment. Sugar Rush Peach. This is a hot pepper. It's not peachy looking yet, but it turns a really pretty like peach color. Sheep Nose Pimento. This one's supposed to become like a red color. Maraski Purple. Has like lovely purple flowers. Little peppers. This one is a jigsaw pepper plant. And the jigsaw is aptly named. It is a puzzle indeed, if you will. It's supposed to be kind of the hotness of a jalapeno, but I've read elsewhere that it's actually like very, very hot. So I'm a little nervous to try that one, and I'm gonna definitely do it like gently, a gentle try. Yeah, don't know quite how hot this one's gonna be. This is a Kalari baby cheese. It's kind of interesting how these ones like go upwards. Poblanos. This is an ahi lemon. Nothing quite on that one. These are Czech black. They're not black yet, but they're looking pretty good. Bequino, also nothing really on him yet. This is like a Jimmy Nordello or something Italian pepper. Tunisian. This is a Riwa. I think this one becomes like orange. And the Korbachi is a sweet pepper, but they're quite little still at the moment. This is, I believe, a Georgesco sweet chocolate, like bell pepper. Oh, and this is the fish pepper that has like variegation on it, and the peppers are supposed to be kind of stripy too. So the peppers are looking pretty good. I mean, considering I think last year being I had very, very few peppers, I think they're doing pretty good this year. Well, today is definitely one of those like perfect like end of summer days. It's just like lots of blue skies, and there's still some green, you know, or I guess there's lots of green still, but some of the trees are starting to turn yellow, as well as a bunch of the different grasses, especially in the swamps that we have, are starting to turn like very brilliant yellow. They go brilliant, brilliant yellow. I don't know, how was everyone else's summers? Successful? Learned some stuff? Didn't learn some stuff? There's a bit of neglect going on in my garden this year, mostly with, I think, lack of watering and too much heat and not really knowing what I was doing with it. But that's okay. It's a process. I know I'm learning. It'll get better. But I thought I would just, you know, end with some nature shots. Maybe a little bit of fauna as well as flora if we're lucky. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye.